Can a marriage be saved after adultery? And of course, based on my title, I argue yes. Now, let me say this before we get into what you need to do to save the marriage, all right, after adultery. However, though it can be saved, let's be honest, it'll take a lot of work. There's a lot of trust to be rebuilt. There's a lot of pain and hurt that must be worked through and resolved, all right? It's going to take time. And I'm not talking 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. It could be a year or two. All right. But I promise you, I've worked with hundreds of couples who have survived the tragedy of adultery and found the triumph of love on the other side and found their marriages to be stronger, richer, and more meaningful. But they put in the hard work because they did love each other and they fought for that love. All right. So, can a marriage be saved? Yes, it can. Marriages don't actually end because of adultery, actually. But really, I believe marriages end because of how they handled the adultery. The question for you is your understanding of love, is it big enough to allow yourself to love another person for failure, for deep hurt, and for betrayal? Does your love for that person allow you to love for those things? That's the question you have to ask yourself as we begin to move forward in this conversation around, can a marriage be saved? I'm saying yes, but here are things you must think about and do for that to potentially happen. The adultery must end. It must stop. It cannot continue on. Whoever the offending spouse is, they can no longer have contact with that person. They can't text them. They can't email them. They can't see them. The relationship must stop. If you're not willing to end the relationship, it's like going into a bar when you're an alcoholic. You're probably going to drink, right? If you're an alcoholic, you don't belong in a bar. Real simple, right? If you're a cocaine addict, you don't belong in a crack house. Got it? You don't belong in those places. Same thing. If this has been an adulterous relationship, you don't need to be around that person. All right? The relationship, the adultery must stop. If it does not stop, I think we all can figure it out. The relationship probably is not going to make it. All right? Honesty is essential. No more secrets. Let your yes be yes, your no be no. Complete honesty and openness. Adultery is about lying. Let's be honest. You're lying about where you are, lying about what you're doing. You're keeping secrets. No more secrets. No more secrets. Complete honesty. And this is the tough part. Even honesty to where what you're thinking or feeling is going to hurt your partner. It's a complete honesty. But you can be honest and open about what's going on in your mind, your heart, those kind of things. Both of you, by the way. You can still be honest and have goodwill and respect with each other. It's like speaking the truth in love. You can speak your truth, you can do it in love, or you can speak your truth and do it in an unloving way. So I think being honest is essential, but it's how you speak your honesty that also matters, all right? We always say this way, love has a tone to it, and the way you know someone's speaking their truth in love is their tone, all right? You can be honest and have a negative tone. You can be honest and have a positive tone, because love does have a tone to it. So honesty is essential. Why honesty? Because when you're honest, you build trust. When you're honest, I have confidence in you. When you're honest and open, I don't have to try and second guess what you're saying. I don't have to try and read into what you're saying. Your yes means yes, your no means no. What you mean is what you're saying is what you mean. You're honest about what's going on inside of you. You're honest about where you are. You're not hiding where you are. If they ask a question, if the victimized spouse asks the same question 14 times, be honest. Give the same answer. A lot of victimized spouses, they'll ask a question 3 or 4 or 5 times, 10 times sometimes, and they'll ask it in different ways. You might think, why are you doing that? Here's why. They're wanting to make sure they're getting the same answer consistently. They're wanting to make sure that you're being honest. Why? They're actually trying to build trust. You can't build that trust if you're not honest, all right? So honesty is essential. It's going to take patience. It's going to take patience to rebuild trust. Trust does not come overnight. It does not come in a month. It may not come in 6 months. As a matter of fact, my experience, 30 years in this field, is that level of trust you're really looking for could take a year to 2 years. You might think, oh no, a year to 2 years? Well, yeah. So what? You have a lifetime together. What's a year or 2 years? To rebuild and restore and build trust along the way. You know, one thing I've learned in my own journey, professionally and personally, people who are trustworthy are never bothered when their trustworthiness is questioned. They're not bothered by when you question a person's trustworthiness. Why? They're trustworthy. Because of that, they're going to be honest with you. It's when a person isn't trustworthy, they're going to be bothered when you question their trustworthiness, all right? And if you're trustworthy, they'll build back. When you live a life of being trustworthy, I mean, you're going to be honest, you're going to be accountable, you're going to speak your truth, you're going to show goodwill and respect to them, all right? When you do these things, you'll probably build trust back a lot sooner than you think. It's when there's deception, a sense of I don't care, you leave me alone, quit asking me the same question. All that basically sends to the victimized spouses, you don't care about the pain you cause them, you only care about the pain that it's causing you. So it's going to take patience to rebuild trust. All right. So be aware of that. And that's not a bad thing. If you love each other, then you build the trust back. Now, this is interesting, but necessary. The offending spouse must take full responsibility for the choice of adultery. Do you get what I said? The one who committed the adultery, the offending spouse, must take full responsibility for the choice to commit adultery. When you sit back and blame the other person for what, well, you did this, so I did that. I had a case today. Well, you did this, I wasn't happy, so I went and found somebody to make me happy. You just blamed your spouse for what you did. You could have gone and eaten a McDonald's hamburger. You could have gone and had a Chick-fil-A sandwich. You could have gone and driven your car to California. There are 500 other decisions you could have made other than adultery choice. Now, you get to own that one on your own, you see. But when you put off your choice for adultery on the other person, you're not taking responsibility for your choices. You're basically saying, I was an innocent victim to the choice of adultery because of what they did. Actually, you made the choice. And let's be honest, I would argue 100% of people who commit adultery know what they're doing. They know it's wrong, and they took the risk anyways. Why? Because they're looking for something they probably weren't getting in their marriage, or in their own mind or heart, or from their past, or who knows what it is. They're trying to get something fulfilled in a very unhealthy, and I would argue, immature way. So the offender must take responsibility for the adultery choice. I do recognize that sometimes some relationships are in conflict mode and have been in conflict mode for a while. And you haven't felt loved, you haven't felt connected, you haven't felt valued, if you will. All right. I get that. And there are probably problems in the relationship prior to the adultery decision. So we know in the marriage therapy field, it used to be taught, quite a few decades ago, that if a man cheated on his wife, it was the fault of the woman. Actually, I love the lecture by Dr. Frank Pittman, who is really a leader and a mover in the field of marriage therapy. I'm not even sure if he's still alive right now. But years ago, he did a lecture. I actually have the transcription of the lecture on my computer. The lecture was titled Father, Sons, and Zippers. And basically, here's what he was saying to the marriage therapy field. Quit blaming the women. The reason men cheat has nothing to do with the wife. It has to do with the fact that these men were raised by immature fathers who were never, these men were never raised to be adult men, mature men. And he said, basically, they're little boys acting out little boy issues. They're thinking of themselves. And you know what? I agree with them. It really is true. That's not to say there weren't problems in the marriage before, but that choice, that's an immature choice. Now, also, let me say something as well. Sometimes the choice for adultery is connected to a sexual addiction. In that case, it's never about the wife. It's strictly about the addiction. Yes, there are men who look at porn, who masturbate, who do a lot of things, but there are some men who act out their sexual addiction through adultery. You need to find a counselor who understands addictions as well, because there's a history of pornography and masturbation and those kind of things. You may be dealing with an addictive process that needs to be dealt with as well, because if you don't deal with the addictive personality, you still have a problem in the marriage, all right? So the offender must take full responsibility for the adultery choice, all right?